What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fischbein, and I got Dennis, Big Sexy Clausen, back in the building. What's going on, Dennis?
It's not a building unless I am in it.
That's what I've been told. If Big Sexy ain't there, then it's not there.
That's right. It's kind of like something that's happening this weekend.
That's true. A little soiree, a little get together.
You get cold feet or what?
No, I'm super excited. It's crazy to me that it's already
April.
that it's already April. It's already 4 days away. Sorry. And yeah, I don't know. It's more so a surreal feeling more than of like nervousness.
Because if you were getting cold feet with her, I'd probably punch you in the face.
Honestly, as you should.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would just absolutely brutalize you. Yeah, I'd be like, what are you thinking, you dumbass?
That's the thing. There is nothing to question. So that's why I'm not nervous.
Nope.
I know this is the right decision. So
She's pretty. She's nice. She's got a good job.
she's smart.
She's smart. She's pretty. Did I say that already? Most importantly, pretty.
Exactly. And the whole package.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Right. So you better hang on to that.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, for all those who watch,
And I got my best man speech prepared.
Okay. I mean, if we need to cut to you, we might cut to you. So you better have it all planned out.
I'll just come up with something.
I would need like a on the same level as your written apology to the Giannis fans.
Oh, I'll even do better than that.
Oh.
At least I care about you. I don't care about Giannis fans. Who,
That's a good
speaking
point.
of Giannis, who's been out 2 games this postseason, nobody says anything about that. When are people going to wake up and realize that Giannis is injury prone?
That's true.
Does nobody not see that?
I mean, we might as well segue into some playoffs here.
Okay. Fuck, do it.
I'm just going to put, this is what I was going to say for other playoff observations, because we're going to talk about the Atlantic playoff observations. But as you said, one of the hot topics, no pun intended, are the Miami Heat versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis out a couple games. The games he has played, he's been okay. He did put up a triple-double last night, but it didn't end up really mattering all that much because Jimmy Butler put up 56 points.
Yeah, the Bucks gave that game away.
Oh, by far.
The Bucks appeared that this series was going to be tied 2-2. However, they gave that game away. And now they're down 3-1 and on the brink of elimination, which I think if they lose this series to the Heat, I think Budenholzer needs to get fired immediately.
I would agree with that. I mean, and on top of that, it's crazy to me because I'm a huge Drew Holiday guy, but his offense has been terrible.
Do you remember 5 months ago when I was screaming about how Drew Holiday shot like garbage last postseason?
Yep.
And people attacked me, and I said that was a problem, but nobody really cared. And then I said, Giannis is always going to produce. All right, the stats are always going to be in his favor. He's always going to be in the triple-double conversation. He's always going to have a lot of points, but his efficiency is what we need to question. His shooting numbers aren't great all the time. And the rest of his cohorts on the Bucks don't always fall in line either.
And that's the thing.
This is with Brook Lopez had a fantastic night last night. He played extremely well for a guy his age, how well he's playing still at his age. But if the Bucks lose this one, they need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what they're going to do. But it has to start with a conversation with Giannis, because I question Giannis's toughness. I question a lot of guys' toughness in this postseason. And I'm talking about guys like Kawhi. I'm talking about Paul George. I'm talking about Giannis. I'm talking about John Morant. Those are the guys I'm talking about. There is a serious concern for some of these teams that their star players aren't available. And you have to at least question it, because Giannis is banged up constantly. Dating back to even the summer when he was playing in international ball in Greece in the Acropolis Cup, and there was talks about, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not Greek, so I don't know. But there was he missed some time then. He had a knee injury then. He was battling a back issue then. Throughout the season, both of his knees, he was constantly in the injury report with bad knees. Just, you could flip a coin. One day it was his left knee, one day it was his right knee.
Yep.
He takes a hard fall in game one, takes a hard fall, comes back, and then can't play. Now, I know what everybody's thinking. Like, it's easy for the fat guy to sit here and question a professional athlete, one of the best guys in the entire league. However, I'm not a guy making $800 trillion a year. And the whole Bucks team lives and dies whether Giannis is available or not. It doesn't matter if Middleton is. It does affect it to a degree if, like, Middleton's hurt or if Drew Holiday is hurt. However, you can get by without those guys, but the minute you don't have Giannis, your odds significantly decrease.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I was saying this actually last week. For a split second, I almost agreed with, I forget which analyst said it. I almost agreed with him that Tyler Hero getting injured was a bigger blow to the Heat than Giannis was to the Bucks, just because there was a significant amount of time during the regular season that the Bucks played perfectly fine without Giannis. And for Miami, with how many people they have getting hurt all the time, losing Tyler Hero is a big blow, because then who's going to get hurt next? Who's going to step up other than him? But
we
then
already saw Oladipo get hurt.
Exactly. So now you don't have Oladipo to help out.
Before I forget, because I'm old, and I think I already forgot it. So, but the thing is, if you go on a run without Giannis during the regular season, there's a lot of variables into your success, whether you're going to be good. Other teams, historically, don't take chances with their players. Load management comes into the equation. So you need Giannis to be efficient. Like, you need Giannis to be on the floor, because whoever you're playing is always going to bring their best. Now, Miami lost Tyler Hero. However, I think in some ways they're actually better that he got hurt. I think a lot of Caleb Martin played really well in Game 4. Max Strus can show up. And Jimmy Butler, they might as well just let him take Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, an animal, so they might as well just let him do everything in the postseason. Duncan Robinson's actually starting to get some minutes. So Kyle Lowry, you know, even though he's not the best, but you still got to give it to him, because at least he's out there playing.
True.
And Tyler Hero had to have surgery. So he at least has an excuse, but I don't see Giannis getting surgery. I don't see Kawhi. I don't see Paul George. I don't see any of these guys getting surgery. I don't see John Morant getting surgery. The only one that actually had to have surgery was Tyler Hero. So automatically that puts him on the shelf. So, but Giannis, man, I would be very concerned if I were Milwaukee fans. Not only did you lose Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, but now you're about to lose to the Miami Heat, a play-in team.
Yeah, there's not much else to really say about about
There
how
ain't enough
Milwaukee's
cheese
playing.
in Milwaukee to make anybody happy. It's cold. The Brewers aren't that good. I mean, Milwaukee is not. It's not a good. It's not a good time to be a Wisconsin resident at this point.
No, not at all.
I mean, not that there's ever a great time to be a Wisconsin resident, but I'd say now is probably the worst time.
That's true.
You're going to lose to the Heat. You're the best. You're the number one seed. You're going to lose to a playing team.
That like
is not really that good.
I was going to say that just barely got in the playoffs.
Right. They're not that good. I said that a couple of weeks ago when I said they're not that good, and I stand by that. They're not. The Heat are not that good. They're undersized. They have to play Haywood Highsmith. That's how desperate they are to get bodies on the floor. In a fully healthy Milwaukee Bucks, you can't beat the Miami Heat. You can't beat one guy. You can't beat Jimmy Butler.
It really
blows your mind, right? Because you can't even come up with words to describe how crazy that sounds.
Exactly. Like it's. I just watching the games have been crazy to me because like it honestly looks like Milwaukee doesn't even have a chance, which is like, yes, I understand Giannis was out a couple games, but to still be the number one seed means you have a complete team. And it also means you usually can get past the first round with your other players. And the fact that, like you said, Brook Lopez having the game that he had last night, he had 36 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks. And they still couldn't get a win out of that. Because you have your other, like Chris Middleton, 4 for 12. Drew Holiday, 6 for 19. Grayson Allen, 2 for 6. Bobby Portis, 2 for 6. Connaughton, 2 for 6. Like, at that point, why not even throw Jay Crowder in there just for like defensive purposes or anything?
Let's do something. If any time if there were a time to get Jay Crowder involved, it would have been when they were trying to protect the lead.
Exactly.
And Bobby Portis, like, okay, but thank God they have Bobby Portis.
Oh yeah, no.
So I'm not even blaming Bobby Portis. I'm not blaming. If anybody were going to take the blame here, it starts with Giannis at 1, and then I'm going to point a finger at Drew Holiday. Everybody else on the Bucks, okay. You're not Grayson Allen. He has good games. He has bad games. You're not really. It is what it is. You'll take it. You know.
Yep. No, I agree. And you know it's funny.
But you're telling me you can't put Javon Carter and Jay Crowder in there and Drew Holiday and not keep the lead?
Like Javon Carter
is like a defensive guy.
And he proved he could catch fire at any point. We watched him in the regular season when Drew Holiday was hurt for a big stretch there. He actually helped keep them afloat as a starting point guard.
I'm going to just do what you did like a couple minutes ago. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
And I just want to point something out, too. One thing with Giannis in this series, which I feel like not enough people talk about either, even though he doesn't shoot free throws that well, free throws and getting called, like getting the fouls called in his favor and getting to the line is a huge part of his game. When he's not getting the free throws, like not even attempting them, it usually doesn't mean good things for him or Milwaukee. Because I'm looking at his career playoff games. Now, he's played in, let's see, he has 78 total career playoff starts. He has only shot less than 6 free throws in about, this looks like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games. So 17 out of his 78 games, he has shot less than 6 free throws. In those 17 games, he has only one. Let's see. That is 5, 6, 7, 8. So he's 8 and 9 when he shoots less than 6 free throws. And in that time also, a lot of the time, even if he shoots well in those games, his team is losing by... I didn't even see this. In his rookie, I think that's 2015 was his rookie year, he only shot 2 free throws, and they lost to the Bulls by 54 points.
That ain't bad.
But I only bring up the under 6 free throws because both of the games he's played in this series, he's shot under 6 free throws. Both times they've lost. So, like, him getting to the line is a big part of his game, and if his lower back is hurt, if he's getting hurt all the time, he's probably not going to be as aggressive as he normally is in getting to the line.
He's hurt a lot.
Exactly. And that his whole game is predicated off of pinballing off of everybody on the defense because he can just run people over because he's that big and, getting what he wants. But if you're not playing at 100%, you're going to start being more tentative and you're not going to be getting to the line as much. You're not going to be getting to the hoop as much. Then you have to rely on a jumper, which we know if Giannis is relying on a jumper, that's bad news.
He needs to be about 1.5 feet away from the basket.
Yeah.
But when you hear how a couple of years ago he had contemplating retirement, I'm kind of questioning his toughness a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought he was a very mentally tough guy until he started talking about all that. I didn't know. I mean, I still think he's mentally tough, but like I'm not saying people with like mental health issues aren't mentally tough.
No.
I'm making that clarification. I'm making the clarification.
Yeah, we ain't doing that tonight because there's no beating around the bush in this one. Okay, we get it. For one, we like races, we like all sexualities and anything like that.
Yeah.
Let's just throw that out there. We care for people with mental illness, blah blah blah. With that said, I'm questioning his mental toughness because there has to be a point. There have been people throughout history who have done some crazy things just on mental toughness alone. There have been documented cases of mothers lifting cars off their kids to save their lives. They're, Olympians play injured. Or Kurt Angle won an Olympic gold medal with a broken neck. I mean, so there's all of these things that are going on to where there has to be a point in time where you say, what's worse? Going through the pain and not playing, or sitting there and doubting myself, like, could I play? But I'm watching my teammates lose to the play-in team.
Right.
Me, for one, I would be like, I got to get out there because this is a play-in team. That is not an injury to where it's going to be significantly, it's not going to jeopardize him in any way in terms of doing actual damage. It's a pain tolerance thing.
Right.
So that's it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and you can even point towards, the one example a lot of people love to make with Kobe Bryant when he broke his finger or whatever it was on one hand. He went out, played the rest of the game, and shot with his left hand instead. And that was one of Giannis's mentors too. So like that's one of the guys that he learned from the most. Right there, showing you have to be mentally tough to really win as much as somebody like Kobe Bryant. And it goes to show that a lot of people, like I will say, Anthony Davis has gone down with something, left the game, and come right back and played. Anthony Davis has shown me more mental toughness than he has in the past when he just, goes down with some crazy injury and then he's out for forever. He's been wincing in pain up and down the court almost every time in this Memphis series. and still has turned in very good games and is hustling his ass off to win this series. And that's a guy that, like, before I would have said, I don't know how Anthony Davis is. Like, we've talked about Anthony Davis a lot on here. So, you're on mute, by the way.
Oh, I knew that. He got hurt in game 1 to where we thought he was, like, suffered a pretty significant shoulder injury.
Yeah. He was like, I can't move my arm.
I was surprised, man, when he came back to play. So, Jason Tatum last postseason, he had that bad shoulder thing going on. You didn't really hear much about it.
Right.
De'Aaron Fox's finger has a fractured index finger. You're not really hearing much about it. So
he broke his face last postseason.
You know what? As much as I used to rag on Joel Embiid, the fact that the guy was out there with a torn ligament in his hand, and while wearing a face mask because he had a fracture in his face, totally changed my view on him.
Yeah, like, Embiid knows when it's time to nut up or shut up. Like, if it's the regular season, your team's doing all right, you know your team can win some games without you, that's one thing. You know, take a break, get some rest, heal up, whatever. But when it comes to playoff time, that's when you got to push all your chips in the middle. That's what you have to do.
Because that's what you're playing for. You're getting through, and when you don't play, you're letting your fans down, you're letting your teammates down.
Exactly. Like, I mean, another two people that we talk about a lot on here, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Paul George, I read, has a similar injury to what Joel Embiid has, and they're already talking about Joel Embiid just going to put a brace on it and go out and play in the second round. But you're telling me Paul George can't do it, and he's missed games since late March?
Oh, well, Paul George was talking, I saw something today or yesterday talking about his frustrations about not being in the postseason and being hurt, blah, blah, blah. I question his toughness. Yeah. And I question Kawhi Leonard's toughness. Kawhi Leonard's always going to have a knee issue. He's always going to have a sore knee. His knees are banged up. You're telling me you can't just give it, like, if you're not playing in the postseason, then what's your goal here?
Right.
You can't tolerate the pain to play. If I would have serious concerns about that, about whether or not those guys are going to stay on the roster. But I will throw out there as well, guess who is playing very well for the Clippers? A guy who gets ragged on constantly by every moron that's out there. And he's playing so well, they're already talking about, like, they're pretty much begging him to come back, even though they're not going to have the money to do it, because he's going to command big money again. And it's Russell Westbrook.
Exactly. And even Kevin Durant was in a post game singing his praises, saying, you know, it's just the popular thing is to make jokes about Russell Westbrook, but by the time he retires, everyone's going to talk about how good of a player he was, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like,
well, I think Russell Westbrook, to me, is much better than Kevin Durant is.
I mean,
and I know there are going to be people who give me crap for that, but the reason being is because Russell Westbrook is 10 times more gritty than KD will ever dream of being. KD is frail. He's fragile. And that's just not because I'm a Nets fan. I've been saying that even when he was on the Nets. But to me, Russell Westbrook is a guy I'd rather have on my team any day of the week.
I mean, from a basketball talent and overall, like, performance standpoint, I would take Kevin Durant, but personality, you know, durability, and, like, the mental side of things, yeah, I would take Westbrook.
But when are people going to start recognizing durability is just as significant of an attribute as, like, 3-point shooting?
It's true. Especially with how often people are out in this day and age.
I mean, can anybody tell me who's a guy who's more durable, like outside of guys like Mikal Bridges and Russell Westbrook. Those are guys you want to build a team around because in today's NBA, if you don't have your guys available, you're in trouble.
Right. I mean, even a guy like James Harden, up until he got traded away from Houston, James
He
Harden
was always playing.
Yeah, he was playing almost 82 games a season.
And that was when they were making like strip club jokes, like he was fat and out of shape, and he was still playing.
Exactly. And he was getting MVP and putting up triple doubles and got Houston to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, there's a lot to be said about just being. I mean, we talk about LeBron a lot. He is one of the most durable players in NBA history.
Still is.
Exactly.
Even though he missed time, the guy's 38 years old, and I know I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, but I'm passionate with this topic because I love durability. I love guys who are playing. I hate guys who aren't playing. It drives me absolutely nuts. I have no use for guys like Bradley Beal. I have no use for guys like Zion. I have no use for that. John Morant is another guy who's now on that. If I were Memphis, and I know we're kind of segueing in and out of the playoffs, but if I were Memphis, I would seriously I would think about long and hard whether I want John Morant on my team moving ahead. He's already proven he's not mature. He doesn't make good decisions. There are a lot of reports that have come out, and I would probably venture to guess that there are going to be more reports that will come out about his conduct off the court. And the guy is just hurt all the time. So I would rather just start Tyus Jones every day and just be happy with that because at least Tyus Jones plays and he's good. It's the best backup point guard in the league.
I've been seeing way more often now Tyus Jones praise because of everyone actually understanding how reckless John Morant plays. Like, I've seen people comparing him to saying that he's a less talented and more immature version of Derrick Rose, which is pretty much true.
I would take Derrick Rose 100 times over 100. Derrick Rose in his prime, I would take him easily over John Morant.
Oh, for sure, 1,000%.
But the way the Grizzlies are collapsing again to a playing team, you have to really take a step back and say. And you and I were both talking about it before this series even started about how Memphis is just a train wreck. Brandon Clark's been out. Are we segueing to that, by the way? Is that like a thing? What are we supposed to
do? It's part of the other playoff stuff.
I don't know. You're the guy who's supposed to keep you on track. I don't know where we're going.
No. We're on track. We're good.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah.
So, you don't have Brandon Clark. You don't have Steven Adams. Miraculously, Jaren Jackson Jr. has stayed healthy and even won Defensive Player of the Year. Outside of that, now you have Dillon Brooks, who's being a pain in the ass, and he's even making like Draymond Green look likable at this point.
He's made people like Draymond more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're like, wait a second, I like what game was that when we were like rooting for? Oh, we were rooting for the Lakers.
Yeah,
and we were both like, shit, how did that happen?
We're both like, we've never cheered for the Lakers and we've never been big LeBron fans, but we are now just because of Dillon Brooks.
And it was like an organic, too. It's like something I felt in my soul.
Yeah.
That I wanted the Lakers to win.
Exactly. Like, the Lakers would go on a run, and I would be sitting there, not even, like, outwardly doing it, but in my head being like, yes, go Lakers. And I'm like, wait a second, did I just think that?
Yeah, am I really doing that right now? Yeah, I mean, so... The Grizzlies are Taylor Jenkins, man. If he's got to keep his house in order because if he doesn't figure that out, I would out the door because you're not keeping your boys in check here. Dillon Brooks is a moron, and John Morant is a moron too. He's just really good at basketball. Dillon Brooks is not really that good. And he's got this tough guy thing going on, which I don't know when he was tough because if he was LeBron stepped up to him the other day and didn't do a thing. He's smart for doing that because LeBron would have just ate him for breakfast.
And
But
now, after constantly talking shit, he's not even taking any questions post game anymore.
because he looks like a buffoon.
Exactly. And I like with Dylan Brooks too. Like according to Tim McMahon, the Grizzlies tried to upgrade from him at the trade deadline. They tried to give him away, and nobody
they
wanted
did
him.
upgrade. They got Luke Kennard.
True. They should be playing Luke Kennard more. They should be playing David Roddy more than Derek Brooks.
I would play
Dylan Brooks.
I would play Zaire Williams over.
Honestly.
I just like naming every member of the Grizzlies team. Every member of the Grizzlies, I just like naming.
Oh, yeah. But it's like the Grizzlies had promise if, and only if, everyone was healthy and everyone kind of like stayed in their role. Like if Steven Adams was healthy, there would be a big difference to the rebounding for one. I mean, just like how Sixers Nets were, the Lakers are just getting offensive rebounds all the time. And having Steven Adams down there would completely change that. And then Brandon Clark being healthy would be different. Ja Morant, if he didn't hurt his hand again, would be different. But the thing is, all those guys are pretty. It's now a label. And the thing is, like you just said, maybe Ja Morant wouldn't change all that much because even with him on the floor, the Grizzlies this season were 23rd in three-point percentage. And all the Lakers have to do is play 2-3 zone, pack the paint, and just guard against them driving recklessly to the hoop.
Now, I will say Ja Morant had 45 points.
Yes.
In Game 3, he had 45. So, okay, I'll give him that. But he's just natural. He's Kyrie 2.0. He doesn't even have to try to do that. His attitude is atrocious. Imagine how many rings he would have if, like Kyrie would have, if he actually was like fully invested in what was going on the floor.
Yep.
I mean, it goes back to that quote that you sent me earlier about, about Kyrie saying, "Had we been healthy, we would have won the championship." The year before last, where KD stepped on the line with his big ass foot. You know what I mean? So,
right.
But I blame that on Kyrie, and I blame this on Ja Morant because everything starts and ends with him, just like Giannis in Milwaukee. So, I honestly don't think that Morant is a guy you can build a team around. He's already proven in the past, like I said before, that he's injury prone. But now we got this new element added into it this season with guns and, alleged encounters with people and off the court shenanigans, and he's got a posse supposedly, and all this stuff going on. I would be super concerned about that. So at this point, I might even contemplate taking Ben Simmons for him. Okay, not that much, but I'm just.
I was about to say, I was like, I don't know if I'd go that far, but no, I like if you could upgrade Ja Morant to like a forward and then bring Tyus Jones up as the starting point guard, I wouldn't be mad at it. But I just also wanted to say, with that thought of Ja Morant has never been known to be a 3-point shooter. He really has never been known to be like a set jump shooter or anything. Like he can get, his shot off the dribble here and there, but he's mainly known to be a slasher and get his points at the rim and at the free throw line. And a lot of, other than like Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard, that's really the whole team is just a bunch of slashers and kind of like gritty rebound and like gritty under the hoop guys. Otherwise, no one's really hitting threes. And in this series, they shot the best from three in game 1, which they lost. And that was 36% from three. That was with Desmond Bane shooting 3 for 10 and Dylan Brooks shooting 2 for 9. And then you go to game 2, the one that they won, they shot 30.6% from three. Game 3, they shot 33.3% from three. And then the latest game, they shot 21.4% from three.
It's over.
Yeah, I mean, because literally they're a one-dimensional team on offense. If Desmond Bane's not hitting 7 or 8 threes in a game, then their three-point shooting is pretty much non-existent. Therefore, pack the paint with Rui, Anthony Davis, LeBron, all those guys, Vanderbilt. They've been playing really good defense in the paint and at the rim, and that's all you need. So then you lose to a play-in team.
I mean, crap, you could put Tristan Thompson in at this point.
True. You could put Mo Bamba down there.
Anyone.
Which I do want to shout out Rui Hachimura. He's having a great series. Austin Reeves having a big-time series himself.
I'm going to go on record, as I want to say, is I was very critical of Austin Reeves at the beginning of the season. I was very wrong.
I mean, I thought he was a fluke when he had like his little stretch of good games. I don't remember if that was last season or this season. He had his stretch of good games and everyone was hyping him up and everything. I thought it was going to be a fluke, and he proved me wrong too. He's out there looking like one of the most important players on the team outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis. So
I think he is.
I agree. I think he might be.
It certainly ain't D'Angelo Russell.
No. I feel like Reeves and Hachimura and Vanderbilt are the next 3 most important players after LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then you get to Russell and Schroeder.
Schroeder's played like 2 minutes this series.
I know. And he usually hasn't looked good at all. Beasley is just, his shot is off this series. But the moment he starts finally finding the bottom of the net, he can catch fire at any point too. So then you got to worry about him. But, yeah, I mean, I don't see Memphis winning this series. So,
but this is going to be interesting, though, because you want to segue to something else, by the way.
No, go ahead.
I'm organically segueing, though, so.
Oh, okay.
But this goes back to, now we got the Warriors and the Kings tied 2-2.
Yep.
All right, of course the Warriors win on home floor. Now we're going back to Sacramento, and we're going to see what happens, because we know the Warriors, they're not good on the road.
Sorry, go ahead.
So we'll see exactly what happens, but it'll be interesting because Jordan Poole hasn't really been playing that well. He finally had a decent game in Game 4. Andrew Wiggins is back. He's been contributing. So the Warriors are like, and Kevon Looney's been, he plays 47 out of 48 minutes and doesn't get hurt. So
Looney is a tank.
I can't figure it out with him, but
he had like 21 boards the other game too.
Yeah, and he's so weirdly shaped. He's like a pear.
And he kind of like hunches a little.
Yeah, he's just awkward, but the guy's great, so we'll take it. But it'll be interesting, though, because if the Lakers get past, I still think Sacramento's going to win the series with the Warriors. Okay. If they take Game 3, I have a hard time believing that Golden State's going to beat them twice in a row.
Right.
So I think Sacramento's going to take that series, and if they end up matching with the Lakers, there we go. They're in the Western Conference Finals, which is what I said. So
that's true.
I think the Lakers just match up really well with Memphis because it's Memphis. But if they even got to like Golden State or Sacramento, they don't stand a chance.
Yeah. The moment they face an offense that can actually stretch the floor, that's when the Lakers start to crumble.
Because unlike Memphis, Sacramento's got Sabonis, even though he's not like a defensive guy. But we have Alex Len, who's been playing a little bit. We have Trey Lyles. So we have some bodies in there. Keegan Murray's been playing decently, and Harrison Barnes is just there. You know what I mean? So Davion Mitchell's been doing a relatively good job trying to contain Steph Curry as much as possible.
True.
Similar to how Golden State, they've been putting the Peyton, which they better think they're stars that Portland doesn't know how to do anything right because he went to Portland, got his money, and now he's right back in Golden State. It's like he never left.
I know. It's
And
insane.
so, he's been matched. They've been putting him a lot on Fox and things like that. To me, when I was watching the Warriors, I think the Warriors are better when Draymond Green wasn't on the floor. I think they're better with him not starting.
That's why I give big respect to Kerr for bringing him off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's not used to coming off the bench, but his days, I think, as a starter are over. And I like I said, I think they're better when he's not on the floor. I think his defensive days his days of defensive efficiency are over. I don't think he's a threat offensively. I just think he's getting older. I just don't think he's, to me, the Warriors, I like that group of Wiggins, Klay Thompson, Steph, Gary Payton, the same kind of thing they were running. Looney, who's working his ass off all the time. Like that lineup is to me is like the most dangerous Warriors lineup. That death lineup that they were doing last season, so if you put like I said, Gary Payton in there, Gary Payton to me is like a very instrumental player in their success in the postseason coming back against Sacramento. So if Draymond Green's not available, whatever.
I mean, you can even look at the last game and see how much Draymond has just sunk. I mean, you look at his normal stats. He shot 3 for 14. He had 12 points. But, yes, he also had 10 rebounds, 7 assists. But you look at, even the advanced stats, his offensive rating, one of the worst on the team. Defensive rating, one of the worst on the team. His effective field goal percentage was 21.4. I mean, and his true shooting was 36.1. Just god-awful. I mean, because you look at the starters, it's like Steph at 66, Klay at 77, Wiggins at 65, Looney at 80, Poole at 64. Just really, really bad. And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, is this postseason, has this not been fucking fantastic, though, so far?
Oh, it's been great. The only series that I've watched...
Yeah. Okay, we know.
No. I actually wasn't going to say the Sixers, because Sixers-Nets had some battles in there. I was going to say the only series up until Game 4 that I was kind of bored with...
Denver?
Actually, yes, Denver. Because, I mean, I'm not a... Watching Denver to me is cool, but it doesn't excite me. It's nice because it's fundamental basketball, but Denver doesn't excite me to watch as much. Minnesota, I just can't stand I can't stand their roster other than Anthony Edwards. So I
said, imagine if you made a team with Looney, Bridges, Edwards, Russ. That team would win an NBA championship.
Plus, they'd be exciting.
Yeah, that would be a great team.
That'd be awesome. Tyus Jones, backup point guard, too.
Now, that's a team. If you built that team, they're probably going to win a title.
I agree. I 100% agree. But the one thing in this series, though, for Sacramento, I just want to see Sabonis given a little bit more. Scoring-wise, Sabonis hasn't been great. He's provided his all-around game, don't get me wrong. But it just seems in these closer games that they just need a little more out of Sabonis.
Top 5 in the league.
Oh, he's amazing. Don't get me
Nobody
wrong.
knows it, but he is.
He's top-notch player. But in Game 2, he had 24 points. They win that game by 8. Game 1, they win by 3, close game. He only had 12 points, but 16 rebounds, 3 steals. Put in some work on the other side of the ball. They go back to Golden State, lose by 17. Shot 50%, but only put up 15 points and turned the ball over 6 times.
It's the Warriors, though.
No, I know. And that's the thing is, I think the Warriors other than maybe, I don't want to say Denver, but other than maybe like, I guess like Phoenix or Denver Golden State's going to be his toughest test because they're the best interior defense. Because like with Looney and those guys, they're not like Jokic isn't going to play the best of defense even if he could. Phoenix, Ayton is
I don't know what's up with these
okay
European
defender.
guys don't want to play defense.
I don't know. They're always built. They're always like billed as these tougher players because like in Europe they don't call fouls as much, but they don't seem to be tougher. But
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
been a while since we had like an Andre Karolinko in the league.
Seriously. But this is definitely Sabonis' toughest test in terms of going up against the defense. But I think if they want to finish this series out in 6, he's definitely going to have to be just a little bit better when they go back to Golden State. Golden State's just so fucking bad on the road. I would be very surprised if Golden State could actually win a road game in this.
This is going to be the most important game for them. Out of this whole series, 100%. It's going to be Game 5.
Definitely agreed. So let's go over to some of the Eastern Conference, Atlantic Division. The Knicks. We've talked a lot of shit.
Did you want to touch on Phoenix and LA, or did you just want to like not even say anything because we did a little bit, but yeah, Phoenix is gonna win.
Yeah, the Clippers are always hurt. Russ is awesome, but I don't think he's taking the Clippers back from a 3-1 deficit by himself.
No.
Yeah. Kawhi and Paul George,
so
maybe they'll be healthy someday in their lives.
Well,
anyway.
They barely played with. Can you believe they've been together 5 years in LA already?
It doesn't seem like it. Seems like 2 or 3
years.
It's insane. It's ridiculous.
And it's like, what have you done in 5 years besides nothing?
I was gonna say they have nothing to show for it. Not even getting to. Were they even in the conference finals? They weren't even in the conference finals.
They've done nothing.
Yeah. So at that point, it is what it is.
They got a new stadium coming, though. At least it's going to have like a lot of bathrooms. Which, that'll be good because nothing drives me crazy, right? Here are my pet peeves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching TV. I'm watching NBA. And you get these people get these expensive-ass seats. Nothing drives me crazier than A, when the game starts in the second half and you're not back in your seat, or B, you're sitting courtside and you're on your cell phone text messaging.
I hate it.
You know how I would give Mike's left nut to be on the courtside seats. And those playoff courtsides ain't cheap.
And that's the thing.
$10,000 to $20,000 a piece for one of those. And you're telling me you can't put your phone down to watch Kevon Looney chug his way back and forth down the court? I would give anything to watch that.
And that's the thing. Courtside seats are not for real basketball fans. And they should be. They should be, but it's always just a status thing. And the people in those courtside seats, 9 times out of 10, don't give a fuck about what's going on in the game. And it is so annoying. I was watching the Lakers-Grizzlies game from last night. Adam Sandler was sitting courtside, and he was tuned into that fucking game because he enjoys basketball. He was watching the whole time.
But then you got some guy who's like 68 and he's got some smoking ass chick sitting next to him. Titties hanging out and everything. She's probably like 28 years old. She's sitting courtside for one. I'm like, it's to have money and to be a hot chick in this world is you get anything you want.
Well, I was talking to my one friend and I was like, now that I think about it, I've never had a stranger buy me a drink at a bar. Ever. in my life. And he was like, I have once, and I felt like the hottest person in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
not to brag, I've gotten butt per,
I mean, that's because you're big sexy.
Well,
That's how it goes.
But I'm popular in the winter, and then in the summer, they don't want to have nothing to do with me. Gets cold up here, so, cuddly.
Exactly. They need the warmth. They need the hibernation.
I want to fucking hibernate right now.
I agree. But yeah, Ooh. So it's just the courtside seats are ridiculous because they should be reserved for people who actually care about basketball.
But then it's even like the people who are in like the, when you start to go up, like you're in that first row as you start to elevate. Mm-hmm. Those are expensive seats too. You're telling me you have 12 plus minutes. You can get a pretzel and take a piss easily within that time frame. Easily.
Exactly.
Get your pretzel with your cup of cheese. Get a beer. In my case, it'd be that. When I went to Barclays, I probably ate the worst pizza ever there. I had some pretzels with cheese.
Right.
And for the entire night, it probably cost me about $280 for food. Yeah.
Oh, prices are insane.
So put your phone down. If you're watching, if you're there courtside or wherever, put your phone down.
Yeah, I can't stand it either. So I definitely hear you on that one. So anyway, we've talked a lot of shit about the Knicks. They are now up 3-1 over the Cavaliers. They could possibly face Miami in the second round, which would probably favor them a little bit more than facing Milwaukee. They could actually, realistically, make the Eastern Conference Finals this year. And
how about that, huh?
Honestly, they've been really fun to watch.
I don't hate the Knicks at all. I hate their ownership.
Oh, I agree.
But I am a big Jalen Brunson guy. He's a durable guy. I've always liked Jalen Brunson.
Love Josh Hart.
Josh Hart's fantastic. Julius Randle's been pretty durable, and yeah, he got a little tweaked up, but he came back earlier than anticipated, and he's not 100%. He got benched, but he's the least out there. So you got to give Julius Randle a little respect.
True.
Jalen Brunson, to me, is if he plays at this caliber next season, we'll be talking about him winning an MVP.
Oh, I could see it.
He's going to be an all-star. And now we're going to be talking about him in the MVP conversation. Guys like definitely Brunson. Randall could enter that conversation. Sabonis, like guys like that. But Jalen Brunson, when he left the Mavs, and to me, the Mavs could have offered just as much money as the Knicks did. But what the Mavs never really gave Jalen Brunson was respect. The only thing that the Knicks did right over the last 10 years, probably going back to when they hired Phil Jackson at a front office job, which was more than 10 years ago. But the only thing that they did right recently was make Jalen Brunson feel like $1 million and make him actually feel like they hired his dad. They wanted him so bad.
Yep.
And it's really paid off because they got Jalen Brunson's now a superstar. He is one of the best players in the league. And
in a huge market.
And if he can lead the Knicks past the Cavs, which I'm very disappointed in the Cavs, by the way. I expected more out of that. But if he leads them to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, then we need to be discussing, whether he's like a top 10 player in the league.
Yeah. I saw a poll. I think it was like House of Highlights or one of those accounts put it up. And they said, who is more important to the Knicks' success, Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle?
That's Brunson.
To me, it's not even a question. It's Brunson by far. Because we've seen Julius Randle lead the team the last 2 seasons. Where'd they get? nowhere past the first round. Brunson enters the equation. Hart enters the equation. Now,
Well, Hart was the big pickup for them because they didn't really start being like this till they got Hart.
true.
However, I'm not going to knock Julius Randle because I've always liked Julius Randle. I wanted Julius Randle to be on the Nets. Sometimes you just need to get matched up with the right people for you to play to your full potential, and this is exactly what happened here. Julius Randle was never a bad player. He's a fantastic player.
Agreed.
He's great. Can shoot threes, rebound. Like, he's a great player. I'll say great because I think he's a great player. But by bringing in Brunson, man, that whole team played better. And they're not really that deep, but the fact that they got, like, Quickly, who was in the Sixth Man of the Year conversation. I still think Malik Monk should have won, but never mind. That's neither here nor there.
Brogdon's also deserving, though.
Yeah, but it's okay. So, anyways, they're not really that deep, but Mitchell Robinson at least has stayed available, which has been an issue for him.
I was going to say that's big for him.
Yeah, Hartenstein at least is there and has been playing pretty well in the playoffs off the bench. R.J. Barrett, I mean, they're probably kicking themselves for not wanting to I mean, you could have had Donovan Mitchell on your team.
He had one good game.
Imagine if the Knicks had Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
That would be, and all you had to give up, like, that was my whole point with that. Like, you're telling me that you didn't want to give up R.J. Barrett?
Right.
And I think it was Grimes they didn't want to give up. Like, you value Quentin Grimes that much?
Yeah, I know.
Like, you have first-round picks. I get it. Nobody wants to get rid of the first-round picks. But, I mean, their first-round picks they have right now aren't worth a lot with them advancing deeper into the postseason. We're talking a championship-caliber team.
I think for me, when I originally thought about that trade for Donovan Mitchell, it was before they secured Brunson. And I was like, if you only have Mitchell and Randall, I didn't think that was going to get you that far. But the moment you add Brunson and then have Mitchell and Randall, that's an entirely different ballgame.
They would have easily been the favorite to win the East.
Oh, yeah. I agree. And the thing is, I didn't expect in this series to say the fact that Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein have been better big men in this series than Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Like, pretty easily, too.
I would blame more, though, on Jared Allen, just because Jared Allen's been around for a while.
I agree.
A little longer than Mobley. Mobley actually shows more potential. I think Jared Allen's getting to the spot where he's like capping off in terms of ability. Mm-hmm. Mobley, the ceiling is still extremely high, and I think he hasn't even contemplating even knocking on the glass right now.
Right. So
the Cavs, even if they, for one, I'm still disappointed in the Cavs because the Cavs could be an Eastern Conference Finals team. They were a 4th seed, but they need to start figuring out, like, okay, where's this roster going? We have Donovan Mitchell, who is always good to get hurt every once in a while throughout the season, but he's relatively healthy. Jalen Brunson,
Darius Garland.
Thank you. This is what happens when you get old. You don't remember things. Darius Garland is played well this season. If anybody I think out of that starting lineup, and you might think I'm crazy, but if anybody I were to contemplate getting rid of, it'd be like Jared Allen.
Either him or Okoro.
Well, those guys like that are like interchangeable. Okoro, Lamar Stevens, Chetty Osman, like those guys are like Dean Wade. Like, who could we throw in the lineup today just to fill the spot?
Yeah.
LeVert,
I think they do need an upgrade at that position, like even an upgrade from LeVert too.
Well, LeVert is good just as a 6th man. Like he's good when he starts, but I think he's good. He's better and can stay healthy longer when he comes off the bench.
Right. He just needs to stay consistent. That's his biggest issue.
Well, I don't think he really knows how to be like he plays his best when he's starting,
Right.
but I think they need to figure out like we got to add something here to this team. And I don't know how they would be able to like add up. They have Ricky Rubio, who is now, is working his way back from a severe knee injury. NATO's on the roster. So they have a relatively deep roster. I just can't put my finger on exactly what they need like one more thing to get them over the hump. Right. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that's gonna happen, but the Cavs are still gonna be in the conversation as being one of the best teams in the league, if not just the Eastern Conference, but in the league entirely. They got to make that transition from being a regular season team to a playoff team.
Agreed.
And some teams suck, like Miami sucked in the regular season, but they're a good postseason team. Same thing with the Warriors. The Warriors sucked in the regular season, but they were one of the teams that we said were going to be dangerous, and they're taking it. They're putting up a fight right now against one of the best teams in the Western Conference this year. But that comes out.
Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
It just comes out of experience. Sabonis is relatively doesn't really have a lot of playoff experience, as long as he's been in the league. But he's been on the Pacers, which Pacers haven't really been that good.
Yeah, and I mean Fox has 0 playoff experience.
I mean, even though he's playing well beyond his experience level right now.
Right.
At least he's cognizant of the fact that, I have a broken finger, but I'm going to play.
Yeah. Like, it all comes down to the fact of knowing the scenario, knowing the stakes, and playing up to those stakes, not shying away from them. Like, Donovan Mitchell is one of those guys that usually plays way up to the stakes of the playoffs. I mean, he has the 3rd most points in a playoff game in NBA history. Like, he usually plays his ass off when it comes to playoff time. But it's also like we've seen Jalen Brunson up his game when it comes to playoff time. We've seen guys like Jimmy Butler up his game in playoff time. Like there are just guys that get it, and there are guys that treat it like another game. And even though you want to say like, oh, it's any other game so that you don't get your nerves in a bunch and whatever, no, you got to treat it as if it's a higher level of just another game, because it is. It's the playoffs. You got this is what you've come to do in the NBA to win a championship. And if you haven't come to do that, it shows when it comes to playoff time.
And I don't even knock for Embiid got hurt in game 3.
Yeah.
I'm not even knocking him for not playing in game 4 because they're up 3 games enough to none. And they obviously didn't need Embiid to beat Brooklyn. So I think that was actually a smart move. And I know we're jumping around again while I am, but...
I mean, we can segue to that because that's what our next one was anyway.
Okay. So I think it was actually a smart move from Doc Rivers to because I'm sure if the stakes were higher, Embiid would have been out there.
Oh, yeah.
But what's the point? Now they finish that series off really quick, and now Embiid could just rest.
Yeah, especially after Atlanta taking a game off of Boston.
Yeah, and I don't know what the score is right now, even though Boston's probably going to win because they don't have Murray, so that hurts.
Yeah, Murray had to go in. Oh, actually, Atlanta's winning right now, 41-36.
Wow.
I mean, very early on, but
I don't understand and we were talking about this too. I just don't understand the. They need to come up with a different criteria on what you're getting. Like, to me, Murray getting in was that a smart move? No, it's dumb. However, you're going to suspend a guy for that. But and this isn't a knock on the Sixers, but Joel Embiid went to kick a guy in the nuts and stayed on the floor. You got Draymond Green trying to stomp a guy's heart into his, you know, he stomped his chest. How's that? He stomps him in the chest. He gets a suspension. Okay, that's warranted. Mm-hmm. James Harden gracefully, semi-gracefully taps Bridges' penis, which is probably about 14 inches long anyway, so that's a big target you got. So, but yet he gets ejected for that.
For a normal basketball move.
Right. He's lucky to get by him. He's going to use his hand to try. He makes contact with his penis.
Right.
It happens. That's like somebody shooting. That's like somebody shooting me and they shoot me in the stomach. Well, no shit. You got a big target there. Same thing with the guy's penis.
Dylan Brooks gets ejected for hitting LeBron in the penis.
Well, he probably, Now, if he hit Mike in the penis, he was looking for it.
He was aiming with precision.
Because you gotta zoom in on that with infrared, pinpoint accuracy to get that thing.
Can we talk about how this is the postseason of penis hits, though?
I thought you were. Can we talk about Mike's penis? I'd be like, no.
No. Because Harden, Joel tried but missed. Dylan Brooks hit LeBron. I forget who it was, but they elbowed Anthony Davis in the penis during, I think it was Bane when he was going up for a layup, elbowed Anthony Davis. Jaren Jackson hit Schroeder in the penis when he was trying to get around a screen. That's 5 alone.
It's a record, playoff record.
I don't know. Did the Players Association get together and be like, look, hits below the belt, they're cool this year?
I don't know what's going on with
the year of the penis.
I mean, they're like fucking boa constrictors. So, of course, you're going to hit him. When a guy's 6'10", he's probably going to be about 4 feet long, so...
But anyway, Joel Embiid, I agree that I will give the credit where credit is due to Doc Rivers. I love how we
try to go back to being analytical when we just mentioned 5 penis hits.
I know.
So anyways, his defensive rating, and I'm like, we just literally named 5 guys who got hit in the cock during the postseason.
That's why people love this podcast.
Yeah, oh yeah. Bunch of class acts.
Exactly. I will give credit where credit is due. Doc Rivers coached a good series. I don't give Doc Rivers credit often. So I will give him credit in his strategies, when he decided to take some timeouts and everything. I still wish he would challenge some plays more often, but he never does. But that's beside the point. He did well in this series. I agree with you that it was a good idea that they let Joel Embiid sit that game 4. They've had Tyrese Maxey step up enough to get a win. They've had some other guys step up enough. Tobias Harris played his ass off in that series, and Tobias Harris played very, very well. And I'm hoping Atlanta can get another win to at least extend that series with Boston by one more game to give Joel Embiid some rest. But it at this point, I not only feel bad for Joel Embiid, but I feel bad for any team that's with him, that it is just inevitable that something stupid or weird happens in the playoffs and he gets hurt. Like against Toronto last season, the inadvertent elbow from Siakam breaks his face in a game that was already decided. In the playoff series 2-3 years ago against the Miami Heat, he broke his face the first time when he was setting a screen and Shake Milton shouldered him in the face, his own teammate. It's always something stupid that he gets hurt from, and it's so annoying.
He is kind of klutzy, though.
For sure.
He's tripping over his own feet, and he's falling on the ground. And around
He
the
needs
court.
to stop falling on the ground. It's just sometimes it just gets super old. It's like, dude, get off the fucking floor.
He loves falling to the court.
He does. Like, we were counting penis touches in a postseason. If you counted every time he hit the floor in a game, probably in the 20s.
Right. Easily surpassing the penis totals.
Exactly.
But he's just, I don't know what it is. What is he, like, off balance? Like, is his penis weighing him down? Like, what's going on? Because he's just always falling all over the place. And I'm like, can you just get off the court? Like, stop falling.
And that the thing is, that is dangerous for everybody around him because he's over 7 feet tall. We saw what happened last year. He fell into Danny Green's knee when he probably didn't need to fall. Fell into his knee, tore his ACL.
And he only put him out for, all he made him get traded, forced the guy to get traded and move his entire family to Memphis.
And miss 8 months.
And miss 8 months in rehab. Not a big deal. Falling is fine. But I love, too, the other day, I forget it was game 3 or 4, but Anthony Davis goes flying to the front row. Will Ferrell was sitting in there. I think it was Will Ferrell. I think Will Ferrell's got like a gray beard now.
Yeah, he's pretty much gone gray.
All right, so Embiid goes flying, or not Embiid, AD goes flying, and this is Anthony Davis I'm talking about. I don't know if I said Embiid twice or whatever, but I'm talking about Anthony Davis. So Anthony Davis goes flying into the, one of the court seats near the basket, behind the basket. He topples over a female camera lady.
Mm-hmm.
She gets up like it's nothing.
Right.
This asshole is down holding his head. He got smacked in the head with a camera, but I'm like, dude, this lady who is probably about 5'1", beautiful woman, by the way, dude, just doing a great job covering the postseason. But anyway, she gets toppled over by a guy who's 7 feet, 250, 260.
Right.
She gets up like it's nothing. AD gets smacked in the face with a camera lens. Yeah, he got a busted lip, but that dude was literally sitting down on like he was just got knocked out by John Jones in the octagon. Can we stop doing this, players? Because you're gonna give your fans a heart attack. Like, get up. Like, nobody. It was only 10 or 15 seconds he was on the ground, but that's a long 15 seconds if you're a Lakers fan. Especially when you hurt your shoulder in game 1.
That's exactly how I feel every time Embiid's on the floor.
Which just proves my point, though, that women are tougher than men.
Oh, for sure. That's there's no contest in that. And I was actually just thinking this earlier today. I was like, if somehow the NBA Finals was Lakers versus Sixers, I think it would be detrimental to the fans because anytime Davis or Embiid would fall, every fan would have a heart attack, and nobody would be left by the time the series is over.
Mm-hmm. They'd have defibrillators all over the place
for the fans and not the players.
Right. Think about it though when you watch a WNBA game, like because I watch WNBA.
Oh yeah, I watch it all the time.
How many times do you ever see a woman go down in a corner and not get right back up? It doesn't happen.
No.
Literally, they hit the floor, they just get up.
I don't even see them flop, really.
You don't see any of that stuff. Like I don't even think they have an injury report in the WNBA.
If they're injured, it's usually like they're out for a few weeks. It's never like, they have a calf contusion.
They're working their way back. They're going to progress to non-contact on Tuesday. 3-on-3 non-contact. Like, you don't hear that in WNBA. The girls are like, I'm playing.
Exactly. These women are they're out for 2 months because they're at the end of their pregnancy, have a child, take a month to get back into shape, and they're back on the fucking court.
Right. I can't even get in shape, and I didn't even have a kid.
Me neither. And you're telling me these NBA guys can't get right back on the court after sitting out a few games due to a little ankle soreness.
Brittany Griner had to go to Russia to play basketball and then ended up going to prison for God knows how long. And she's got... If that were Ben Simmons, that dude would be... He would be in a mental institution right now.
Oh, yeah. Women literally play professional basketball all year round because the WNBA doesn't pay them enough. So they literally go from the WNBA straight overseas, play like 6 to 7 months overseas, and then come right back to the WNBA because they play in the summer.
Right. And Brittany Griner still wants to play, even though she probably lost about 86 pounds in Russia at one of their labor camps. But like I said, Ben Simmons went there. That dude would be... He'd have to retire because he'd be at a therapist's appointment right now because he wouldn't be able to handle it because somebody was picking on him in the playoffs when he was with the Sixers. Somebody was picking on him, so he decided that he couldn't play. Brittany Griner goes over to the former Soviet Union, the communism capital of the world, tries to bring a vape through, a little vape cartridge, gets put into a prison, and then goes to a labor camp, and that bitch is like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm gonna play.
Give me the ball. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I agree. Women are tougher. I get it.
I want to find a video. I want to find a video where a girl in the WNBA goes like, she gets on the floor and then stays down.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen
unless it's like a torn ACL. They're not staying down,
and I don't even think that keeps them down.
Yeah, true. But anyway, we have 2 topics left.
Plus, they get their periods.
That's another good point, to be honest.
I think.
Let's transition into the Brooklyn Nets because they're in the same series. I texted you and Mike saying, honestly, trade anybody that's not Bridges, Cam Johnson, or Claxton. What do you think they need to do this offseason to get past the first round next season?
Win.
I mean, yes, win.
Oh, you mean it's like more in depth than that?
Like, what moves do they need to make?
All right, I did some extensive research on this. Ooh. And you know when I do research on stuff, I'm sitting there for like an hour reading stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So the last time I did that was with we were talking about the CBA, because I couldn't say... It's like when I watch shark documentaries. Like, I can't stop reading about sharks. So anyways, now I'm depressed because we're talking about the Nets. So yeah, they got their ass kicked in the postseason by the Sixers. And then there was rumblings that, Damian Lillard is heading to, there's talks of him maybe going to Brooklyn. But no, for one, that's not going to happen. He's made it quite clear that he's content in Portland. And now maybe next season, if they don't have a better season this year, Portland, I mean,
right,
Lillard, that may be a little bit more realistic possibility, but not right now. He's been pretty open in the fact that he wants the roster to improve, which the Blazers are probably going to do all they can to accommodate him, so he's not going anywhere. With that said, Sean Marks said he's not prioritizing adding a superstar. Instead, he's just going to try to just build it, see what happens. There definitely has to be some moves to be made, but I agree with you when you say, there are guys who should be on the roster. Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, Nico Claxton, and then the priority, first and foremost, is going to be Cam Johnson, who is a restricted free agent. Right. There are rumblings that the Rockets are in the mix. The Rockets have plenty of cap space, and they have a new head coach who's a really good head coach. And they would love to get their hands on Cam Johnson because Cam Johnson is young and he's established, and he would make a really good fit in Houston. With that said, the Nets, why do I keep saying that? But anyways, the Nets have said that they have the right to match offers, so it's looking more and more realistic that the Nets will match any offers in order to keep Cam Johnson on a roster.
Mm-hmm.
Johnson did turn down last season. He did turn down a 4-year, $70 million contract in that ballpark. This year, he's looking at $4 and $90. So he's due to get a pay raise. He's proved his knee is good. So that's probably the direction where this is going. But he's probably going to end up back in Brooklyn because the Nets would be stupid if they let him go, especially when you gave up Kevin Durant to you know what I mean. So it wouldn't make sense to let him go.
Right.
The priorities, there's a lot of guys on that roster who are making money. Ben Simmons makes the most money on the roster. He makes $37 million a year. Nobody wants him, especially at $37 million a year. However, there may be a team, because the Nets have 10 first-round draft picks between now and 2029. There may be a team that has cap space that may be willing to take that on, especially if they're 2-3 years away from doing even anything to resemble any success. There's not a lot of teams really. You know, the Rockets are in that range. The Orlando Magic would be a team. I'm not saying that these teams are going to look to make the moves, but I'm talking about teams that it would make sense if they could take back some salary and get some draft picks out of it.
Right.
Sean Marks did say, though, that Ben Simmons is going to be 100% probably by September, but we've heard that before. We've heard that for the past 2 seasons. I feel like we heard that going into this season. Last season he had a herniated disc, and this time he had a nerve impingement. So yeah, I don't believe it. And then even if he does come back, what is he going to do? When he was healthy, he didn't do anything, and when he was playing at Brooklyn, he had the knee thing kept acting up. So Ben Simmons played 42 games last year, which is not promising for a guy who makes $37 million.
And he's only 26?
Yeah, he's young. So if worse comes to worse, the Nets are probably just going to have to see how this season plays. Maybe he'll actually turn it around. I highly doubt it. I've done a complete 180 on any hopes for Ben Simmons moving ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got guys like Joe Harris, who's entering the last year of his contract. He's going to make about $20 million. Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal. Dorian Finney-Smith, his name has been brought up about a guy who could be moved.
Right.
He's a guy who could help somebody. He's very versatile. He can get hot on offense. He's a good defender. He's a guy that can help somebody.
True.
So if anybody were going to get moved, it's going to be Dorian Finney-Smith. Royce O'Neal's in that same ballpark. He's making around $9 million, which is a lot of money for a guy who can be pretty impactful on both ends of the floor when he needs to be. Joe Harris, if they're going to get anything out of Joe Harris, because Joe Harris was rumored to get moved last season, but I think now's the time to kind of just pull the plug on it. $20 million, maybe get something back. But if the moves aren't made this offseason, which there's a good chance the Nets enter next season with the same roster kind of that they have now, fortunately, they will have cap space the following season, which they'll have about $60 million in cap space, which will be promising for them. Mm-hmm. Another asset that they could possibly part ways with, because they need rebounding, they need size, they need big men. They don't have it. Outside of Nico Claxton, they've had to resort to Day'Ron Sharpe, but outside of that, they really don't have anybody, because sometimes you had Ben Simmons playing in the middle, you had Royce O'Neal, so you don't have size, and the Nets definitely need size. Mm-hmm. Cam Thomas is a guy who's locked in under contract for 3 more seasons. If you paired Cam Thomas with a first round pick or any type of picks or whatnot, you might be able to get something done there. Especially like Cam Thomas went to Houston, he would probably be a lot better in Houston because he'd probably get more playing time.
True.
So yeah, the first thing that they need to do is they need to cut the dead weight. So Joe Harris is the world. Sorry, thank you for your service to Brooklyn, but you got to go. Dorian Finney-Smith, they need one more piece, but they can't do it at the expense of like severely draining their roster.
Right.
So there were Trae Young rumblings. I don't think Trae Young looks like now that him and Quinn Snyder are getting along good. So I don't think that's going to happen. That could have been a possibility, I feel like, but not anymore. If anybody, and I kind of thought about this, and you might think I'm on crack, but we've heard about Cat going to Brooklyn, which to me, I think that if this Minnesota thing doesn't work out, and if Cat wants to go back to New Jersey, that could happen. And the Nets are in the position they could match the salary, so they could get rid of Ben Simmons, or they could get rid of Joe Thomas. They could get rid of multiple draft picks, which the Timberwolves need because they got rid of them when they got rid of Rudy Gobert.
I was about to say, I'm sure they would welcome any draft picks after they sunk all those into Rudy Gobert.
So if anybody, if there are two guys right now that I could see on the Nets out of the biggest names this year, I would say Karl Anthony Towns, and then I would say Pascal Siakam, because there has already been talks about what the Raptors roster is going to look like, and I could see, especially if the Raptors are going into a rebuild, I could see the Nets giving up, offloading their salary to match the salary, and getting rid of some of their picks in order to bring Pascal Siakam to Brooklyn, which Pascal Siakam would help in the rebounding department. He would be a superstar that they need, and that would propel them to at least Eastern Conference Finals consideration. Would that make them a championship team? No. But it would still make them a very good team.
Fred VanVleet could also be a free agent.
Well, here's the thing with that, because they don't have the money for it. So, could it happen?
It definitely depends what VanVleet is demanding.
Now, a sign and trade could happen.
That's true, too.
But if Siakam or VanVleet, which I was going to say VanVleet too, but if those guys were to move, they have bird rights in Toronto, they could move. It's beneficial to sign and then get traded because they could make more money and the Raptors could get something back from them.
True. I will say, I think that Dame to Brooklyn is a little more realistic than I originally thought. Only because there is an existing friendship between Dame and Mikal Bridges apparently for the last few years. They're apparently really good friends. On top of that, when Dame made his comment about Portland and said, look, if they're trying to, bring in younger people and keep this going for a few more years, I'm not sitting around for all of that. So I think it puts the ball in Portland's court. Do they think they can build a championship contender within the next season or two? And if not, then you better trade Dame now so that you can still actually get something for him. And you would get plenty of draft picks, maybe Ben Simmons, and then you could probably also get someone like Cam Thomas and someone like that. And you can start from there and then trade away Jeremy Grant and so on and so forth.
Well, it would make sense, but the thing is that deal now would be available next year as well. So I think the more realistic approach to this is I think Dame will give it one more year to see what the Blazers are going to do, which means bringing back Jeremy Grant, which means, the future of Nurkic and see what exactly happens and then adding around there. But if he doesn't get what he wants, I think it's more realistic to believe that Dame could end up in Brooklyn next season, just for the simple reason of I think Dame is doing all he can to make it work in Portland, because he said it all along. I remember I wrote something for Fansided years ago about how Dame Lillard said he wanted to stay loyal to Portland. He loves Portland. He loves the fans, and you don't get that a lot. So he wants that. So it could happen, but I just don't think it's going to happen this season. If anything, like I said, Pascal Siakam to me is the most realistic option for Brooklyn right now.
Okay. I mean, that would be nice too. Don't get me wrong. Muhammad is here. What's going on, Muhammad?
Muhammad,
Welcome back to the show. We
what it
appreciate you
is.
watching. So I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think that's a good way to look at everything. Real quick, last topic. We'll just make this a quick one. Ime Udoka going to Houston. How long do you think it'll be until they're a legit? Let's just. I'm not gonna say championship contender, but like a legit playoff contender, good team.
They'll do it this season.
You think they're gonna make the playoffs this coming season?
Well, they'll make the play-in.
Make the play in. Okay.
Because they're going
I
to get
think.
stronger in the draft. They have money, and they have a
Right.
good head coach now.
I think they're gonna trade Kevin Porter Jr.
But whatever, it's like he's not like he's a good player, but he's not there. He's not a Jalen Green or a Sengun or a Jabari Smith or an Eason. Like he's not that nucleus to the Houston Rockets.
I agree, but I think that the general public believes he is because of some of the games he's had, but he's another guy that is notoriously injured.
And he's a pain in the ass. He doesn't get along with anybody.
That too. And you might as well trade him while he still has value now, because he probably won't in the near future. So
Now
that's
I'm thinking about Pascal Siakam or Van Vliet in the Nets. Van Vliet would be perfect though in the Nets because, and I know we moved on, but Spencer Dinwiddie's he can handle the ball, but he's not a point guard. He's not a natural point guard.
Yeah, other than the very last game of the series, Dinwiddie did not look great.
No, but Bridges didn't really look good in Game 4 either. So, but
No.
imagine a starting lineup though of like Nico, Cam Johnson, Bridges, Dinwiddie, and Van Vliet. It's a great lineup.
Well, if you had Van Vliet and Siakam, not saying that's. I mean, obviously there's a lot of salary cap hoops you got to jump through for that, but Claxton, Siakam, Cam Johnson, Bridges, Van Vliet.
That's a championship contending team right there.
That's a big time team with Dinwiddie as a sixth man. I mean, that's a solid team right there.
You want to know what? It could happen though because they have the picks to do it, and they have
That's true.
If the Raptors are looking to rebuild,
and Van Vliet could take a little less money if it means going to a team that is a better chance of winning a championship. He could.
Well, everybody in Toronto's on the block right now except for Scotty Barnes.
True.
So they could
As it should.
Well, yeah, but theoretically they could. If you got rid of Van Vliet and Siakam, I would probably venture to guess without looking at it that they're probably making between 50 and 60 million per year between the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you traded, you could easily put Ben Simmons in there, and then you'd be talking about Joe Harris and Dorian Finney-Smith, but Joe Harris and at least Ben Simmons, and then maybe you might have to throw Cam Thomas back there because he obviously has value as a young up-and-coming superstar. Not superstar, but player. And you get those first-round draft picks, multiples. It could seriously happen. And I have this weird feeling that we might be looking back on this and saying, we did it again. Call it another one.
I agree. Mohammed says Oklahoma City Thunder have a bright future. They really do.
Agree.
They have a very bright future. They looked great.
And they played well this season, and they did it without Holmgren.
True. Bringing him in next season, and then whatever draft pick they get, that's going to be big.
But Lillard, though, by the way, is going to make about $56 million in that final year of his contract. That's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about how big that contract was.
And he'll be like 36, 37 years old.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. Well, that's the last topic. Do you ever remember this guy?
No, not this week, honey.
All right.
We get I got some stuff to do. I got to go out of town this weekend for something. I forget what it is, but something I had going on. It's not really that important, but
Oh, and Muhammad says Lakers L. I don't know, man. Muhammad, Lakers are up 3-1. They're up 3-1. They could definitely get that
did
one.
Muhammad add a last name?
No, he's always had this last Warsame.
Are you just sure?
Yeah,
I thought he's always just been Mohammed.
that's just the only thing we call him.
Now, how does he spell his Muhammad? Because you know how you spell Muhammad differently.
Mahamud.
Is that the real way to spell it?
I mean, there's multiple ways, but it's not the way that I've seen before. The way I've seen before is usually MOH.
I hate people who spell their name, like they take names and they complicate them.
He's talking about you, Muhammad.
No, I'm not talking about Muhammad. I love Muhammad.
By the way, since we've been talking, the Celtics are now up 8 at half.
Shocking.
Oh, God. But I don't think we'll have an episode next week unless you and Mike decide to do one by yourselves.
I will clear that up right now. We will not have an episode next week.
Okay. For those who don't know by what we've said, I will be getting married and then be on my honeymoon. So that is our more than good enough excuse for not having an episode.
Can't believe we're here already, man.
I know. Finally get to hang out in person.
People probably think like we hang out all the time, but we've actually never physically met.
I know. Mike actually called me last week, and he first talked to me about tax stuff, and then he was like, this is gonna be the first time we see Dennis in person. I was like, it's pretty crazy to think that since we've been doing this podcast for like years.
But trust me, unlike when you met Mike for the first time, I won't disappoint.
Appreciate it. I left very disappointed.
I don't blame you. I'm disappointed every time I talk to him.
Oh, God. Well, that is it here for us at the Atlantic Files for this week, episode number 270. We will catch you guys. What? 270 episodes of the Atlantic Files. Mm-hmm. We've been doing it for at least 270 weeks. But there's more because we've had break weeks in between.
Right.
But if you guys watch on YouTube, subscribe below, hit the bell for notifications. It lets you know when we go live. Like our videos, put some comments in there for the algorithm, all sorts of stuff, all that good stuff.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, exactly.
No fucking whatever he said.
Share the podcast with a friend. We appreciate it greatly wherever you get them, Spotify, Apple, all that kind of stuff. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching, and we will catch you guys in 2 weeks. Peace.
Protect your penis.